Hey everybody, Frank Kern here. What you see in front of you is a whopping $1.88. I'll tell you why I've got that ridiculous picture in a minute, what it means to you, but first, let me deliver on some promises here. When I told you about this video, I promised I'd show you how to make your ads work without spending a fortune, and I'm going to do that. And you know what? Right now, you're here at the perfect time. And there's a reason I say that. There's a couple of them. Actually, as you probably know, as a result of all this pandemic and all that craziness, more people are stuck at home, and that means they're spending more money online. So it's no surprise to any of us that online sales have really jumped up, and they're continuing to jump up. But what's crazy is the opposite of what we would think would happen has actually happened. You would think that because more business is being done online, advertising costs have gone up, to meet the demand. But in fact, the opposite has happened because a lot of people have been afraid to advertise for whatever reason. And that's fantastic. And here's what this means to you, by the way. Number one, we know that more people are using social media than ever because they've been stuck at home and there's nothing to do. And you're probably just like everybody else, right? Our social media time has increased a lot because we're not a lot much else to do. All right. And we also know that more people are buying more stuff online than ever before. And what's crazy is that ads are cheaper than ever. And if you really look at these three things, it's like we're in this holy grail situation. We've never really had a situation like this ever in history especially in the history of marketing stuff online, where more people are using the stuff that we can advertise on than ever. They're spending more money than ever, but for whatever awesome reason, ad costs have gone way down. So it's like the greatest opportunity ever. So the question becomes, well, how do we take advantage of this right now? And I'll tell you how. The first step is you really got to keep it simple. All right. So people that sell how to run ads stuff, so people who are advertising experts, it's very profitable for them to make it sound really complicated so they can charge you a lot of money to show you how to do it. In reality, there's only four things that matter, period, when you're running ads on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and like literally only four. Number one is the thing you're selling, right? So obviously the thing you're selling has to be what people want. Otherwise, they're not going to buy it no matter how good the ad is. So that's pretty important. Number two is who you're showing the ad to. Okay, so if we're selling steak and it's the greatest steak in the world and everybody likes steak, but if our audience that we're showing the ad to is a bunch of vegans, then we're probably not going to sell a lot of steak. So obviously, right? The other thing is what you say in the ads, the words, and then the final thing is the picture or video, if you choose to use a video. So, the words and stuff and pictures. That's kind of all that the ads are. It's just words and pictures shown to the right people, selling something that they want, right? And so it's really not that complicated. And if we understand that, okay, wait a minute, there's no need to complicate all of this kind of stuff, then it also makes sense that we really need to examine what the experts are telling you to do, and you should really do the exact polar opposite of that. And here's what I mean specifically, all right? So one of the things the experts will tell you is, look, man, you got to go big or go home. They'll say, it takes money to what? Make money. Well, you know why they tell you that is because they want you to give them a lot of money, and so this is a sales tactic. In reality, you should really start very small. Whenever I build a new campaign, I'm going to show you screenshots in a minute. Whenever I build a new campaign, I'll have one audience and I'll start it with one audience for $5 on the first day, every single time. That's my budget, is $5 on the very first day. Always start super small, right? And the reason you want to do that is because it doesn't work every time. So if it doesn't work, which is pretty common, you're going to have to change and tweak things. You haven't only spent, but $5 for that one little audience or whatever. So it really makes a lot of sense to start super small and be really smart about it. The other thing they tell you is, look, man, you got to find your perfect audience. You got to get laser focused on your perfect target market. You got to find that perfect target market and go all in on them. And that's actually a terrible thing to do because you're putting all of your eggs in one basket, right? The way social media works is it's really impossible to enter in, targeting options and be like, here's the perfect person I'm going to show my ads to. And the reason why is because when people sign up for Facebook accounts and stuff, they might have signed up 10 years ago. So if you're trying to target people who are married or whatever, for all we know, they're no longer married, or maybe you're trying to sell stuff to dog owners and they might have put when they first created their account that they like dogs and they have puppies or whatever, and now 10 years later, they don't have a dog anymore. So really, instead of trying to find the perfect audience, you do something called loose targeting. I'll give you an example of it in a minute, but you try a bunch of different audiences and you barely spend any money on any of them and get the data really, really quickly. The third thing is, and this is the worst, which is, okay, you got to create the perfect ad, and then there's all this debate over what the perfect ad is. Is it a video ad or should it be an image? Should it be a story ad? Should it be controversial? Should it be like hard-hitting news angle? Should it be like a sales letter and blah, 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 blah. And so here's the way it really works, all right? You don't ever want to do any of that kind of stuff because we never know what ads are going to work. So instead, you create a few like okay ads, you don't spend all day on them. My first two, always, every time I create a campaign, I have 2 sentences in every ad and that's all. So you create a few okay ads and you see what works and you build from there. Let me show you an actual example of this. Right? Because the concepts I gave you, I know are probably like, dude, what are you talking about? This is literally the opposite of what I've been told. So remember earlier, I showed you that one big cash dollar and 88 cents. Well, back in April of 2020, right smack dab in the fun of the, quarantine and all that kind of stuff, when everybody was going crazy, I launched a new ad campaign and I started small. Okay, so this particular campaign, remember I told you I have one little audience on day number 1. I set it at a $5 budget for the first day, and it only spent $1.88 because it got approved kind of later in the day. And you know what happened on that first day? Not very much, right? Because I didn't get a lot of traffic. I only spent $1.88, but I got some results. I got some traction. By the way, this is what I was promoting. This is a program that's really, really good. That's been very popular. So I got a little bit of traction. I started getting some sales after a couple days, and a week later, right, by April 16th, I had upped my daily ad spend to $342 a day. And so you'd be like, dude, why, you started at $1.88 a day. Why did you jump it all the way up to $342.50 every day? And the answer is because during that time period, stuff started working. And during that time period, up until April 23rd, between the 9th and the 23rd, it ended up bringing in $16,164 in sales, which is fantastic, right? And so one thing I've learned, and I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I know that flat out, when something's working, you want to do more of it. So with that particular campaign, this is what I did, and here's why, right? So that campaign started working pretty good. I started it first day, $1.88. I was like, I'm going to try some audiences and see which ones work and which ones don't. By the time May rolled around, I'd started dialing it in, and I spent $149,000 and change on ads. And you're probably like, dude, I have no interest in spending $149,000 on ads. You're out of your mind. Why are you showing me this? Well, I wouldn't ever suggest that you do unless the ads are profitable, So mine were. So the reason I spent that much is because during that same time period, and this is May 1st to May 31st, that campaign brought in $449,000 in revenue. And so that's a really, 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 really nice return on my ad spend. So look, obviously, I'm not telling you, hey, you're going to also make this kind of profit or whatever. I have no way to know what you're going to do. This isn't meant to be an income claim or anything like that. I'm just showing you my logic and what it looks like when you start small and then you just kind of keep an eye on everything and you keep reinvesting and reinvesting and reinvesting in what's profitable. Incidentally, that same campaign kept on doing pretty good. It wasn't always awesome. So for example, the next month, just to be transparent with you, I spent $200,000 on there. Whoops, jumped the screen too quickly. I spent $200,000 on that same campaign in the next month, and it brought in $339,000. So the net profit, I still made $130,000 net profit, but it wasn't nearly as high, right? So that was June through August of last year. And then, the campaign kind of started to slow down a little bit, and I got a little bit tired of selling it because it involved a lot of live interaction from me. And so on the last day of promoting that campaign with ads, which was August 14th, this is a total fluke, by the way, but I spent $231, and it ended up bringing in $2,183, which is crazy. That never really happens. That was a total fluke. I ended up turning that campaign off, incidentally, and you're probably wondering, all right, why would you do that? And the answer is because I wanted to focus long term and get leads at a profit. So that campaign, I showed you the picture of the landing page for it. It went straight to a sales page. It didn't like get leads or anything. I was like, wait a minute, this is cool, but I'm having to do a lot of in-person stuff to fulfill this offer. And I would like to get a lot of leads and then, build a list, but I wanted to do so profitably. So in July, I launched a new campaign following the same steps I just showed you. Start small. Don't, try to find the perfect audience. Test a bunch of little ones. And then don't try to make the perfect ad. Just like make one that's pretty good and see what happens. And if it works, then try to get fancy, right? So in July, I launched a new one. But instead of sending someone directly to a purchase page, I got their email address first. And that really took off pretty good. It was nice and profitable right away. From July 29th to September 15th, as you can see right here, I spent $64,000, which again, I'm not telling you just to go out and spend $64,000 or anything like that. I want you to start really, really small, like $5 on day one, seriously. Right? And so, but I did the same thing and scaled it up. It ended up bringing in $111,000, which is great. It's a pretty nice profit. Plus, it brought in 9,415 leads and counting, which has been great. And then I used the same approach, the same campaign strategy in October. And between that date range right there, I spent a grand total of $2,399.47. It worked out pretty good. As you can see, it got 1,000 leads, which is great. But look over here on the right. It brought in $15,000 in sales, which is crazy. That's like 7 times the amount of money that I spent, which is awesome. It's really, really good. Now, look, this doesn't happen every single time. And a lot of times ad campaigns don't work, which is why I always advise you to start small. Right? That's why it's like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Start really, really small. Always want to start $5 on day number 1. See what happens. Oh, and by the way, this isn't like an outdated approach or a flash in the pan. I know I'm showing you stuff from 2020. So here's some more recent stats. Here's a campaign that's just from a snapshot from a day on, March 3rd. You can see I spent $659.93, brought in $1,000.13. So that was great. That's a nice little profit, and what's, again, really cool is I'm essentially getting paid a profit to build a list, which is great because, you can continue to build a relationship with that email list. And there's really very few things that are as cool as being able to hit send and see sales come in. And also I want to point out that what I'm sharing with you isn't a flash in the pan type of thing in terms of, it's only been working a little while. Like I have personally spent a lot of my own money building my own ads and doing all of this stuff myself. So what you see on the screen here, this is the date range of this one particular account. I have multiple accounts, by the way. You can see it's from April 1st to March 4th of, so almost a full year's worth of data there. Spent $843,000 just in this one account. You can see the campaigns, there's one. I spent $31,000, made 81. Here's another one. Spent $29,000, made 65. Here's another one. Spent $23,000 and made 48,000. And here's a bunch more, and they were successful. And on top of all of this, I was also able to build my list, which is really, really cool and really, really exciting. And when this stuff works, like with these campaign examples I gave you, when this stuff works, I'm not really spending anything. Because for every dollar I put into a campaign, like the ones I showed you, I get more than that dollar back, sometimes in the same day, but usually in the same week. And the reason it's in the same week is because I get a lead and then I follow up with them by email, right? So when that happens, I'm entering what I'm calling the dream scenario. And again, I really want to be straightforward with you. This doesn't happen every single time. This is why I always advise is to start small, because sometimes the ads don't work. And when they don't, you've only spent $5 or $10 or whatever. But when they do, it looks like this, okay? So obviously, I'm using my credit card to pay for the ads. It's not like I have to drive to Facebook every day and bring them a barrel of cash or something for what I spent on ads. So that's kind of cool. And generally speaking, during the day, for that same day, I'm getting sales, right? So what I do is I just pay the ad cost from that same day's sales, and then I keep what's left over as profit. And because of that, technically speaking, I'm never really out of pocket. Because as long as I pay off what I spent that day with that same day's sales, or you can do it weekly as well, whatever, by the time the bill gets around, I've already paid it off because I'm just taking the money out of the sales and I'm paying for the ad cost. And look, it's not always like this, but this is how ads are supposed to be. This is what you always want to shoot for. And this is why, again, I'm like, hey, start small, because they don't always work, but it's easier to find what does work if you start small and you test a lot of things, right? And so this is the methodology that I use when I run campaigns. And I do them all myself. And as you can see, like, they work really, really well. And the question I've got for you is, would you like me to teach you how to make your ads work using the same strategies that I just shared with you? And if you would, I want to invite you to participate in something called the 5-Day Campaign Challenge. This is a class where you watch trainings, and the whole objective is to build a social media ad campaign that gets leads, customers, or both in 5 days or less. So none of that complicated 9 million hours of content. It's literally, boom, 5 days or less, building campaigns that are getting leads, customers, or both. So here's how we do it. All right. So again, our mission is we want to get leads, customers, or both in 5 days or less, and it's really easy. Every day you get super simple trainings, and it's not like 9 million hours of trainings. It's rarely ever longer than 1 hour in a day. You also get access to a private Facebook group where my team and I answer your questions and help you. And essentially what we're doing is we're taking you by the hand over 5 days and just giving you a jump start on this stuff, showing you where to start, what's the best type of funnel, what's the best type of ad for your business, how do you minimize risk and not spend a lot of money, because that's what everyone's afraid of, right? You don't want to lose a bunch of money on ads. So there's risk there, but how do you minimize it? And how do you make Facebook do all the work instead of like you trying to figure out the perfect ad and the perfect audience? Everything I just showed you that I'm doing, I'm not coming up with brilliant copy. I'm not coming up with these genius ads. I'm taking little risks. I'm like creating little ads, and I'm really letting Facebook's machine learning figure out what works and what doesn't, and then I just ride the wave of what's working. I also show you like, hey, what do you say in your videos? Or if you don't use videos, what do you say in your ads? You know, what type of copy do you use? What type of angle should you use? What do you do if you're low tech? Right? And so literally this is 5 days, and it's designed to do one thing and one thing only, which is to help you get leads, customers, or both in that 5-day period, just to show you exactly what to do. So here's the deal. You see like on the page all of the details about the class, right? And you also see a timer. So I want you to enroll in this right now, because the price is going to go up when the timer hits 0. Right? And so it's guaranteed. The price is definitely going up when the timer hits 0. So you might have some questions, right? And so I'll answer some of them because it's normal to have some. So common one is, hey, what type of business is this for? And the answer is this. Social media advertising and the stuff I'm going to share with you is really effective for all kinds of things like retail. Like if you have a brick and mortar store, this is great. Right? If you sell real estate, like if you're an investor or if you're an actual realtor, this is great. If you sell professional services, like legal services or whatever, this is great for you. If you have an agency, like if you're a copywriter, or if you run an ad agency or graphic design service or build websites or whatever, this is great for you. If you sell stuff like e-com stuff, like t-shirts or makeup or whatever, you know, like a Shopify store or whatever, this is great for you. If you sell coaching or super high margin stuff like coaching or consulting, this is really good for you. If you have like a membership site or something, this is great. If you just need to generate leads to follow up with later, this is awesome for you. If you sell home services like a remodeling contractor, roofer, things like that, this is perfect. If you have high ticket stuff, this is great. If you're a medical practice, like a doctor, dentist, chiropractor, this is effective for you. If you sell cars or in the automotive industry in any way, this is good for you. If you've got a restaurant, this is good for you. It's really basically good for any type of business except weird stuff. So I'll define weird stuff as like, you know, actual weird stuff that's inappropriate. Obviously, we don't want anything to do with that. But also like if you own a manufacturing plant in the middle of, you know, whatever, and you sell like the little springs that go inside the light bulbs, and you know, your ideal customer is like there's 10 of them in the world or something, this isn't for you. But if you have like a normal business like most people in the world, then yeah, like this type of advertising is really, really effective. You know what's interesting, by the way, is speaking of like home services and who this is good for, I've got a client that is in the home services market. And this is crazy. They're a remodeling contractor. All right. And so they do like remodel your bathroom, redo your kitchen. So, you know, if you have a house and you don't like your kitchen anymore, you can go and you pay a contractor a bunch of money and they can make your kitchen nice. So I got all of this conversation you're about to look at right here. This has happened during COVID. All right. So when the economy's crazy, you know, it's non-essential business. Nobody's got any money, and they are in the deep south. So this is the text the guy sent me. I sent him a text. I'm like, hey, dude, how's it going? He said, I want to give you a little update. We've got five projects under contract, totaling about $780,000 in revenue at 35% margin, and another $250,000 that we're negotiating with from about $7,000 in ads over a 2-month period of time. I've turned the ads down to $10 a day because we hired, and then he went on to say he had to hire a project manager. I just didn't want to make you read the 9 million, 9 million word text there. They had to hire a project manager because they had so many leads coming in. My client was the one who was personally calling everyone, and then they hired a project manager. And then a few weeks later, because I was like, hey, dude, how's everything going? He's like, so we have 7 signed contracts totaling about $950,000 in remodeling work. This is going to be my dad's best year ever. That's one of the really cool thing about this story is my client's actually helping his father. And so his father's, been in the contracting business for 20 years or something. And this is going to be his best year ever in the middle of freaking COVID as a remodeling contractor in the South, and we're supposed to be in this terrible recession. Anyway, guy says, I pulled back on some of the marketing because we're still evaluating the current PM. PM stands for project manager, right? And so this is like, the reason I'm sharing this with you is not to say by any means ever at all whatsoever that, hey, you're going to make, $950,000 or whatever. I have no idea. I think we're past that point, but still, seriously, I'm not saying everybody who takes this is going to have this type of result. This guy's really, really sharp. The reason I'm sharing this with you is because people think, oh, social media stuff is just for internet things or whatever. And no, it's not. It's really effective. Even if you're a remodeling contractor in the deep South in the middle of COVID, this can still be effective for you, right? So hopefully that answered the question. Another question I get is, what if I don't want to spend a lot of money on ads? And I think really the question you're asking me is, I don't want to lose a lot of money on ads. I'm worried about it. And you should be worried about it. It's normal, right? And especially like if you've been following expert advice and you're listening to the go big or go home people or whatever, you might have like already kind of had it not work out for you. And that's normal. And we're here to fix that. The bottom line is you should never spend money on ads. So here's the deal, right? Anytime we start a new campaign, in the first couple of days, we're probably not going to get sales or leads that we want to or whatever, because it's normal. We're testing stuff. However, in those first couple of days, like we start with $5 on day number 1, and if by day number 3 stuff isn't working, we turn it off. So like seriously, there is a set in stone process to go through. So you should really never spend money on ads. Ads are really supposed to make you money. So here's the deal, like sometimes, a lot of times, they require testing and tweaking at first, but that's why we start small. And the idea is that they start to work and then you're recouping what you're investing in ads plus extra before you ever have to actually pay for the ads. Like that's where we're trying to get to, is that dream scenario. Now, that isn't guaranteed to happen. That's why you start small, but really you should not ever view advertising as an expense, and it should never be an expense. It should be a source of profit for your company, and that's what this whole class is about, like really helping you understand how to do that. All right? Now, another question I get is, hey, I've taken stuff like this before. How is this going to be different? And there's really 3 answers to that. Number 1, this is current. Right? And so like this isn't a flash in the pan. I showed you campaigns going all the way back from April all the way up through August, and so this is current information. It's not hypothetical, and it's taught by me personally, and I do this. So this campaigns I showed you, this isn't like, oh, here's what my Facebook guy did. No, this is me. I personally run my own ads. So I'm the one that runs the ads. I'm the one that writes the copy, and I do it every single day. And I do it to the tune of like 6 figures a month in spend. I'm spending and risking my own money. So you're not getting any theory here. You're getting updated information by someone who actually does it every day. So it's current. And that's very, very important. And the third is the price. So like you see the price on the page, it's nothing, right? It's like, it's so small that it's, it's peanuts. And really you're probably like, wait a minute, you might be like, wait a minute, it's what if it's not any good? It's not expensive. I'm used to this stuff being expensive. It's too cheap. It can't possibly be any good. And that's really a big difference there, is that I'm not asking you for a fortune here. And I am concerned, really, that some folks will think that, oh, man, this can't be any good because it's not a whole bunch of money. And so here's my answer to why it's not very expensive. It points back to my hidden motive here. I've been in business since 1999. I've advised over 83,000 customers on how to acquire customers from the internet. So that's my job, is to help businesses get more customers consistently from the internet. I've been doing it since 1999. I have over 84,000 paying customers that I've helped do that. Here's the thing. You can't stay in business that long doing a bad job. Most of my customers, they're repeat customers and they refer their friends. All right. And so my hope is that you'll take this class and you'll be like, this is awesome. I want to keep working with this dude. And so therefore, this class is really my way of putting my best foot forward. So hopefully you'll be just like them. You'll be really thrilled and you'll be like, dude, this is great. What else can I do with you? This is awesome. Right? And so that's why it's a low price, because I'm like, well, this is a good way to get started. I'm going to help you solve this big problem you have. And I think when we solve it together, you'll probably want to do more stuff with me. And that's awesome. Right? However, here's the deal. You got the timer on the page. It's a real timer. This isn't one of those fake timer things that are super lame. When the timer hits 0, the price is going to double, which is still not going to be very much money, but whatever, you might as well not have to pay double and go ahead and enroll right now. You're absolutely going to love this training. It's like really great. A lot of people have taken it, and it's real. Our mission really is. It's not a month. It's not 2 months. It's to get you leads, customers, or both in 5 days or less. That's what I'm going to show you how to do using social media ads without spending or risking a fortune and without it being a pain. We're going to make this fun. You're going to have a great time. So go ahead and enroll right now. I guarantee you're absolutely going to love it, and I can't wait to see you in our private Facebook group. Take it easy.